Hello everybody, my name is Udge. It's Udge. My name is Udge. I promised this like a year ago, sorry it's taken so long, I got lost in the dong. To clarify, this isn't a tutorial for any specific song, but I'll show you all the techniques I've been using in my note block songs. But if you do want to see the specific songs, I've made the world download available on my Patreon. It's got Joji's Slow Dancing in the Dark, Overflow by Home, the Great Fairy Fountain theme, the GameCube startup sound, and some other stuff, and I'll update the world download when I add more stuff to it. In case you didn't see the title or the description or the thumbnail, this is going to be an advanced tutorial. That means I'm assuming you understand this, you have experience with this, maybe you're familiar with this, and you really know your way around this. I know you might be thinking, what are this guy's credentials? What makes him competent enough to do an advanced tutorial? He's only got like 3 note block videos and they don't even have very many views. Let me address your concerns. Firstly, I have a degree in music, so I'm definitely qualified to talk about this. Also, that means this is pretty much the only thing I am qualified to talk about. Secondly, the algorithm god simply chooses not to bless me most of the time. Okay, so now that you're with me, let's continue. You've asked a bunch of questions that I want to address, and personally I think note blocks are not used to their full potential, so I'm happy to cover all this stuff and then some. As we go through the tutorial, I thought it'd be a good idea to have one specific track we come back and add on to as we go. So of course I picked one of my favorite tracks of all time, not just because I'm already really familiar with it, but because it showcases a lot of the stuff I want to show you really well. A lot of note block covers sound kind of like this. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you know, we could do better. There are charts on the Minecraft wiki that show the ranges of all the instruments. For smooth transitions between instruments, I'd recommend figuring out which ones have overlapping range, and then which have similar timbre. For aquatic ambience, I switched from the standard harp sound to iron xylophone, and then doubled with cowbell because their ranges overlap in octave and they have a similar short percussive quality. I also added flute to round out the short punchy sound. For this topic, I would highly recommend watching these 2 videos, Acatter's video on half-tick note tempo, and FamilyCraft Dad's ultimate note block tutorial. Okay, so you watched them now, right? We're good? Cool, because now I'm gonna actually them. FamilyCraft Dad's video includes a really handy BPM chart, but the listed tempos aren't entirely correct. Bear with me because there's going to be some math involved. By default, 1 game tick equals 0.05 seconds. So if 1 repeater tick equals 2 game ticks, then 6 repeater ticks is 12 game ticks, which is 0.6 seconds. 0.6 second intervals equals 100 BPM, not 112. The point is, there are other tempo possibilities. You could do 150 or 100 BPM following this chart, but with half ticks there are a few more options. FamilyCraft Dad says you'd have to give up 16th notes, but with half ticks that's no longer the case. Plus you could do dotted 8th notes and a bunch of other stuff as well. You could also do new tempos. For example, you could finally get 120 BPM as long as you're cool with all your 16th notes being quintuplets. I used the piston half-tick method in my GameCube startup video because 1 tick was too fast, and 2 ticks was too slow. So I used 1.5. Another thing that the piston method is useful for is faking long sustained notes. I used it for both the bass and the background synth in Slow Dancing in the Dark. Going back to aquatic ambience, I'll add a sustained bass note like in the original track. Repeating notes over and over really fast can be really loud and overbearing though, which brings us to the next point. I love the fact that note block's volume and panning is affected by their position relative to the player. It surprises me I haven't seen this used more in note block covers. You can hear note blocks up to 48 blocks away and they gradually get quieter up until that point. This makes it possible to mix your tracks by just paying attention to how far away certain instruments are from the player. I used this a lot in Slow Dancing in the Dark. For example, I wanted the background synth to be quieter than most of the other parts, so after the initial beat of the chorus, it fades out and then maintains a quieter volume just by being further away. I also did some strategic placement of other things, like the echo of the line, "I don't want to slow dance," which I wanted to be much quieter. But there's an even cooler thing you can do using this kind of volume and panning. Aquatic ambience has panning and delay effects really prominently featured during the intro, so by strategically repeating and delaying the melody line and also passing it back and forth between the left and right sides of the player, we can achieve a similar effect. Since you can do some pretty fast notes with the piston half-tick method, you also can fake your way through some pitch bends. I did this in Slow Dancing in the Dark a lot because the background synth does it a lot. I also threw in some smaller pitch bends here and there just to approximate his voice better. During the chorus, right when he says, "I don't want to slow dance," the wanna naturally bends down, and I thought it would sound more authentic if I tried to replicate it. This one's more of just a quick little tip, but I thought I'd bring it up. Acatters mentions in his tutorials that you can only hear pistons up to 16 blocks away. Since you can hear note blocks up to 48 blocks away, if you wanted to use pistons and not hear them, you could simply make sure all the pistons are more than 16 blocks away from the player. Or you could do what I do and cheat. Just mute blocks so you can't hear pistons. In the Great Fairy Fountain video, I muted friendly creatures so that you can't hear the minecart. My last piece of advice is just to be patient. Slow Dancing in the Dark took me like 30 hours and I only did the one chorus. So if you're gonna experiment with volume and panning and sustained notes and pitch bends and all that, just be aware of the time commitment. So yeah, that's pretty much everything. If we go back to aquatic ambience and we put everything together, we can end up with something like this. I hope this was helpful. Let me know if there are any other songs you'd like me to try to cover, and I promise to at least consider your recommendations. Also, another reminder that the world download that includes all this stuff is available on my Patreon. If these techniques work for you, and if you use them in your videos, please let me know. I want to see some really cool note block covers. Yep. Okay, thanks, bye.